Hi everybody on Facebook. Welcome to Beyond the Front Door with Knox Heritage. My name is Annette Brunn. I'm the Director of Engagement for Knox Heritage. And with me today is Jeff Wilkie. He sits on our board of directors. And he happens to be a very enthusiastic member of our board, as well as a fan of this type of architecture we're going to see today.
Huge fan of the architecture that we are going to see today. And do we have a special home that we're going to show you? Scott is our amazing cameraman today. Scott, can you just give us a quick look at this spectacular house? Look at this house.
And it's not just the house. Look at this.
It's amazing.
The walkway leading up to it is unbelievable.
This house is inspired by Mies van der Rohe, an amazing, very famous architecture from the middle part of the last century. It is just a phenomenal house. Look at how the drive or the walkway sweeps you up to the entrance. Our special guest on today's show will tell you all about the architecture of the house and of the very special man who built this house.
And you know, this house was actually willed to the Knoxville Museum of Art by this gentleman who was the architect, the designer, and the owner. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first we want to introduce you to Kathy Proctor.
Hi.
Hi, Kathy. Good to see you.
Good to see
Hi,
you.
Kathy.
Thanks for coming.
Good to see you again.
This place is fabulous. I can't believe that we're standing here.
This is amazing.
Even with the mosquitoes.
It looks like this house just kind of like dropped here from outer space. What is this house doing in Knoxville? And tell us about the person who built it. Why is this house here?
Well, it was built by Bill Schell, who is a professor at UT in the School of Architecture, and he studied this type of design first at the University of Arkansas, and then he went to New York City and studied at Columbia University. But during his internship, after he graduated and before he was licensed, he went to Chicago, where he studied under Mies van der Rohe, who was a German architect.
Mies van der Rohe, right.
Who moved to the U.S. to escape the Nazi persecution and brought this style to the United States.
Well, and it's not just a work of art, the building itself, but look at this incredible view where we're standing on a bluff that overlooks the Tennessee River. I mean, this is fantastic.
Kathy, as I look at this property, I mean, what I'm seeing are circles and a grid and this amazing walkway going up to the house. Tell us about that inspiration and how that influenced Professor Schell as he built this house.
All right. Well, of course, he loved this wooded lot, and he bought it not very long after he moved to Tennessee. South Knoxville is a kind of hidden, beautiful secret.
Absolutely, hidden gem.
So I don't know if we said it, but we are in South Knoxville, and we are on a bluff about 80 feet above the Tennessee River, and we overlook Sequoia Hills, which you'll be able to see in a couple of weeks when the leaves fall. But the design of the house is based on a 2-foot by 2-foot grid, which you experienced as you came up the walk, as you were walking along the granite path. And once you left the woods, there was the sculpted area where the home is placed, and it's placed within a 80-foot diameter circle, and the house itself is 40 foot by 40 foot. So from the bird's eye view, you'll see the square and the circle.
So every bit of this thing was thought through to the
very
nth degree.
mathematical.
It's crazy.
It
It's
is
amazing. Let's go inside.
Yeah, before we do that, we want to remind everybody who's watching today that we are taking your questions. We encourage you to let our incredible camera person, Scott, know what they are, and we will do our best to answer them as we take the tour of Professor Schell's
I'm inside, people.
Oh, and also,
Right
too,
this way.
make sure that you are following us on Facebook and like us so you can see the next Facebook Live videos that we're doing for Knox Heritage. Look at this place.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, Professor Schell moved to Tennessee in about 1968 and went to work for the School of Architecture. And this is what he taught every semester for the 44 years that he worked at UT.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect in every way. Annette and I talked about this before we started shooting today, and I could live here in a minute, and that is like, this is way too wide open for me. But just look at this. You were totally surrounded by nature everywhere that you look. I find this, like, this house just gives you like a big hug. It's just amazing.
He called it a residential pavilion.
Oh, it's interesting.
Which I think is very interesting because we were talking about the furnishings in the house earlier. And here we are in the living room of the home. And these pieces of furniture were actually designed for the Barcelona Pavilion at the World's Fair in New York in the 1930s. Is that right?
That's correct.
And these are not cheap, I'm sure. I can only imagine what he paid for this furniture. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit later when we see the rest of the house, because there's other furniture pieces that sort of go with this collection.
That's true.
Okay.
Here's one of the things that I love best about this house. And Kathy, if you can maybe help me out a little bit here, I want to show people how you can move this house and rearrange it.
That's a great
Oh,
idea.
okay.
Shall we? This is fun.
Everything in the house is built on casters. So all of these are mobile storage units. You ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
And we can just rearrange the house by moving the casters, or moving these storage units around. And now the bedroom is much more private, and the living room is divided. Let's push it over just a little way so we can have room for the walkway there.
Now these cabinets are made of what?
These are mahogany, all mahogany. They were made locally by a company called Heuristics that does beautiful woodwork. They did all the mahogany work in the house.
The thing that is just remarkable to me about this house is the precision. I mean, just looking at this, at the cabinetry, at these amazing granite floors. And I love how the granite floors on the inside mimic the granite on the outside of the walkway, yet these are highly polished.
Yes, as soon as you pass through the clear wall, the floor became the polished granite. But same material, it just has a different finish.
That's incredible. Incredible. So in a couple weeks, this home is going to actually be occupied by new owners, which is why this will be the last time you get a chance to look into this magnificent piece of art. Really is what this is. So unless you know the owners and you're invited back, now is the only time you're going to be able to see it. And it's a small place, but there's so much to talk about. Just like you were talking about the precision, the ceiling, the lighting, the floors, everything is just, there was thought behind everything. The design of the way the way the chairs and the couch are situated.
It is truly a jewel box in every way. And Kathy, I know that you had a long-time relationship with Professor Shell. So how did the two of you meet?
Well, in I guess the late 90s, I went to work at UT and was teaching first-year design. And Bill and I were a team. We team taught one class that semester. And I never taught with him again after that, but I was on the faculty with him for 14 years. And then after he retired in 2010, I live in the neighborhood just a couple of blocks away, and I knew he lived here by himself with his dog, Katie. And I became a little concerned about him being up here alone, and just became a frequent visitor here at the house, and became friends. And later
really
he became sick a little later on, and I became I was his caregiver.
You know, this just goes to show you Knox Heritage. I mean, we have there's a perception that Knox Heritage is all about protecting older properties, and it is definitely true. But this home is not 50 years old, which is typically the sort of the number that is considered historic when you live in a home that's 50 years or older. So what's lovely about this, and how Knox Heritage was able to participate and support the KMA, which is the organization that actually acquired this property after Professor Shell passed away, is we were able to provide some protective easements. So this house will never be able to be knocked down. Some of the pieces and elements, architectural elements of this property will not be able to be altered. So that is, in and of itself, I think is wonderful. And it just goes to show you, Knox Heritage can jump in at any point in a home or building's history and help out in any way just to protect the nature of this beautiful
That was
design.
really a huge concern of Bill's as he got less able to do things here at the house. He was so afraid that the house would be sold and someone would come and put a gable roof and a garage, and he just couldn't fathom that what he had birthed and designed and would be changed. And so as he neared the end of his life, he decided to give his entire estate to the Knoxville Museum of Art, because he thought that the museum would look at this as a piece of sculpture rather than a piece of real estate.
Definitely is. So this is you said this is his dining area, and I'm like, I made a comment that, boy, he lived here by himself with his dog, but he's got a table for 8. So did he entertain a lot? And Kathy, you said?
Actually, he never entertained.
He was very much a loner, wasn't he?
He wasn't very much a loner, but this was usually covered with architectural drawings and books. and preparation for classwork and things like that.
And the furniture here is by the same designer that made the furniture.
Yes, it is.
Annette, sit down in one of these chairs.
I know.
They fit you like a glove. They're just marvelous.
Yeah, they look like they wouldn't be comfortable, but they are very comfortable. Very comfortable. Very nice.
We're very much following the mantra of form follows
There you
function.
go.
Right?
Well, let me show you the kitchen.
Yeah, and I want to hear too about these columns.
Okay.
These are the support structures for the house, right?
Right. So there's 8 columns, 2 on each side,
Yeah.
and they're holding up this big steel beam that you see at the top, which is
Wow.
holding up these trusses. So, and then the roof is flat on top of that. So everything that you see is steel and glass.
But it's like it just floats. I love it. And one of the things I love about the design that the professor created is the fact that the corners are so clean, kind of like allowing you to have that very special feeling of you being as much on the outside of the house as on the inside of the house. It's just marvelous. Something also that really was noticeable when I first walked in is the house has all hard surfaces, right?
Yep.
Marble, glass, yet I hear no echoes, anything like that. Why that? Why are we not hearing like all the bounce?
If you look at the decking, it's perforated, tiny holes in the little ribs, and in each one of the ribs there's this batt insulation that's laid in it before they put the roofing on top, and that deadens any of the sound, and that's why at one time we had a group from Knox Heritage, over 40 people in here, and it was still easy to hear each other.
It was.
Well, and I want to hear about the rain piece too, but let's take a look at the kitchen because I'm dying to see the kitchen.
Okay.
Go this way.
So the whole house is open except for this 12 by 12 foot cube, and that houses all of the utility, anything that has water.
So all the systems, so in other words, plumbing, bathroom, kitchen, hot water
It's
heater,
all in
furnace,
this.
everything's
So
in
this
there.
is the only part that doesn't move around.
I keep wanting to move it around and it doesn't.
So look at this kitchen. Bill was a pretty tall guy. He was over 6'2", and this is pretty tall to work with in here, but here it is.
It's
So
lovely.
you've got the European stove, and then the fridge is
I
under
just love
counter.
this. Yeah.
And then we have the dishwasher.
All the comforts of home right here in this
Yes.
small little space.
And-
Unbelievable.
I'm 6'1" on a good day, and I'm leaning on the countertop in the kitchen. How remarkable is that? Now, I understand too that the professor didn't really eat out a lot, or didn't really eat at home a lot. He ate out more than he ate at home. Is that right?
That's true.
Okay.
He was a frequent visitor on the strip.
I would imagine.
Love it. Love
I
it.
would imagine.
And around the corner here is not only the restroom, but also looks like he won some sort of an award.
Yeah. Take a look at this. In 2015, he submitted the house for a design award, and he won a merit award from the East Tennessee chapter of the AIA.
Wow.
He was very proud of that.
Anybody have any questions yet? Scott, do we have any questions yet? All right, come on, guys. You gotta have questions.
Come on.
I have lots of questions, as you can imagine. Now, we were looking at the bathroom earlier, and one of the things that I simply love about it is that it actually, oh, come over here, Scott, and take a quick peek. The bathroom is made out of relatively inexpensive materials, all things considered. Oh, it also has an automatic fan, which triggers as soon as you walk in. That's why you're hearing it now. But I love the fact that it's so well executed and so well thought out, including tile on the roof of the bathroom. How great is that for cleaning, huh?
What size do you think those are?
Oh, I couldn't even imagine.
2 by 2.
Of course, everything's a square. I love it.
This is fantastic too.
Oh,
right.
wow, look at this.
Now this is one of the drawings that Bill did of the house. This is, actually it's an elevation. And this is pencil on illustration board. And this is one of the types of drawings he would make his students do at UT. The key to it is that you cannot erase. So if you make a mistake, you start over. And that was the kind of professor he was.
Now, you had a very great story you told us earlier about the professor coming in maybe after having dinner at the Copper Cellar on the Strip or wherever we happened to be, and wandering into some of the classrooms late at night. And what was he doing to some of the students' work?
Now, he did this for 44 years. This wasn't 1 or 2 incidents.
Of course it
but
wasn't.
for 44, he lived much of his life on White Avenue. and that was walking distance up to the different studios on the UT campus that UT had, that the School of Architecture had. So he would just appear. I mean, like, poof, there he would be, and you would be working on your drawings at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he would arrive with his red felt tip pen and just begin drawing on them. So some of the students would quickly cover their drawings with tracing paper so that he hit tracing paper instead of their original work.
Oh my goodness, wow. Well, that's a sign of a good professor, right?
Absolutely, but I love the fact that
We
the
have a
students were
question.
kind of monitoring. We have a question.
All right, Scott, what's the
Kendall
question?
wants to know, was the furniture and art sold with the house?
Yes, it was.
Good question. Good question.
Yes, because it was designed to be in the house.
Do we know who the person or people who bought it? Is it a single person? Is it a family?
It is it's a family, and we're not quite sure what they're planning on doing with
Okay.
it yet. They currently live in Sequoia Hills, and they could see the house from
Oh
their
my
house.
goodness.
Oh,
Maybe it'll be a
fantastic.
vacation home or a
Let's
place
go
to
wave to them
entertain.
now. Hey, everybody.
So this is the bedroom. Again, another modular place.
Right, and originally, you said when Professor Shell was living here, that the bedroom was actually over there.
Where the dining
right, where the
room
dining
is.
set is,
Yeah.
where the dining room is now, and this was the dining room, I'm guessing?
No,
So,
this was just a TV room, and I've had a house sitter staying here
Mm.
while we have moved through the probate part of the process, and she felt that was a little too exposed. She wanted a little more privacy, so she rearranged the walls. And
I don't
moved
blame her.
her
I
bed
think
over
I would
here.
have done the same
And
thing.
she ended up with a view of the river.
That's beautiful.
how wonderful is that?
And then another question, Scott.
How long did construction take?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, it's a pretty unusual. He was the general contractor and the owner and the designer. So he subcontracted the work, but he paid cash as he did it. So the construction actually lasted almost 12 years. And when I was going through the records trying to find the answer to that question, because most people want to know that, I found the building permit expired over and over again
Wow.
because there was no progress on the construction. But he would make a little money, save a little money, and then build one part of this, might be the excavation, and then he'd work a while and save up some more money and build another part of it. And it took almost 12 years to get it completed, a cost of well over $400,000.
Well, and he bought the land in '78, and then he didn't start building till the '90s.
That's true.
So all told, he owned this property for close to 40 years. Ish.
I would imagine
incredible.
with the professor, it took him a long time to just stew about what to build, how to build it, where to site it, and we end up with what we're seeing today, which is just absolutely impeccable in every single way. I look at every single thing, and I would not change a thing.
There was one other thing that he researched. Who, in Knoxville, who were the people that did quality construction? Because he was a perfectionist, and it is well known that at least 4 or 5 of the subcontractors went out of business because he had them redo things over and over until they were perfect.
Oh my goodness. Well,
I can see where, as a very exacting educator, he would be a very exacting client as well.
That's true.
Kathy, you did say too that Professor Shell moved into the house before it was actually done.
Yes.
What was that like? I mean, if it wasn't done, how could you live here? There's no garage, no outside storage at all.
There were no walls. This portion that had the core, it had studs, but it had no woodwork attached to it. So at that time, he had a canoe hanging from the rafters up here. He had a clothes rack that he rolled around and then he hung his clothes on, and the floor was covered with shovels and picks and all the construction tools that
Wow.
he needed
get it out of the
outside.
elements.
Wow.
So this wall here is the laundry facility and more storage, and of course all the electric behind this door too. So
Right.
you were saying that's part of the area that doesn't move, but everything else does.
I just love how for a house that really doesn't seem to have a lot of storage, there's storage.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
it really is. It's
Storage
awesome.
everywhere. We love it.
Well, this is
Oh, well,
amazing.
Let me tell you about one other thing. To be here in a rainstorm
Yeah, I was
is
gonna ask you
so
about that.
cool because the water collects in the roof and comes down the roof drains and then through this court back under the slab and out over the bluff here. But while it's rushing through the house, it sounds like a mountain stream.
Wow.
It's wonderful to be here in the rain.
Well, this is definitely a work of art, a masterpiece. It's beautiful, and I hope, and I'm sure the people who have purchased this amazing property will hopefully have a lifetime of happiness and adventure here. You certainly
And
did.
invite us over because we would
Yeah,
like to
we
come
would
over
really
for
like
drinks
to come
sometime.
over.
But anyway, Kathy, thank you so much for showing
Kathy,
us the
thank
house
you.
today. This is a special thing that you did for Knox Heritage. So thankful for our partnership with you, with KMA, the Knoxville Museum of Art, and certainly to our friends at Knox Heritage who helped build the relationship and the connections that helped to preserve the house for all time and allowed us to be here today.
And we can do that for you. If you live in a house that's not protected and you're interested to find out what it would be to protect your home, contact us at info@knoxheritage.org and we can help you with that. Also, we're going to have another one of these Beyond the Front Door with Knox Heritage events next week, so stay tuned to our Facebook page to find out where it's going to be and what time. But we hope you like this tour. This is an amazing place. I wish you could be here because it's just incredible.
We're going to stay overnight, aren't we?
Yes.
Pizza party.
Pizza party.
Sunrise right there.
Oh, I love it.
Perfect.
All right, this is just wonderful. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you for coming.